In this world we live in, we are often portrayed a perfect life. Everything's almost fairy tale-like in the media. Everything is all happy, everything's fine. But in reality, we live in a world with crime, with murder, with global warming, unfortunately. And John Vidal states that climate change will damage the infrastructure across the world. It will also destroy coastal cities and even cities inland across the world. And right now, the United States is the largest burner of carbon dioxide that goes into the atmosphere, and we are doing nothing about it to lower these emissions we emit. So the Kyoto Treaty was the only one of its kind, as you all know, that works to lower these emissions. However, our former Republican President Bush pulled us out of the treaty because of a dispute with him and the European Union. So, therefore, I'm here today. In this speech, I will argue to you that the Kyoto Treaty should be ratified at the federal level in the United States today. There are 3 reasons to support this treaty. One is that global warming is endangering millions of lives across the world. 2, the Kyoto Treaty will help save those millions of lives. And lastly, the Kyoto Treaty will not harm the economy the way most of you Republicans think it will. So now that we know why I'm here speaking to you today, let me go into the first topic. Now, the IPCC, which is a organization of over 2,500 scientists and experts from around the world, states that global warming is increasing the average temperature of the world by 3 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit, which doesn't sound like a lot right now, but you have to think of it as average temperatures in some areas are up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Another 6 degrees kills anything that lives there, and our ecosystem and people will die because of heat waves, flash floods, forest fires, and droughts. Furthermore, the National Wildlife Federation states that we can expect global warming to bring more storms, heavier rainfall, and more hurricanes. Now, these hurricanes and storms will damage coastal barriers and natural protectants along the coast, which are coastal wetlands that they serve as a barrier for storms to hit coastal cities. However, these storms will damage them over time, and they will be completely destroyed, and there will be nothing to help these coastal cities from being attacked by these storms. Furthermore, the heavier rainfalls will cause more flash floods, and just like Hurricane Sandy or Superstorm Sandy that happened a couple months back, you see what the damage does. Nearly $125 billion a year is spent on just rebuilding things that have been destroyed by natural disasters in the United States. Now, Kofi Annan, who is the former UN Secretary General, and he is a former humanitarian global activist, states that we can expect 500,000 lives to be taken every year by 2020. Right now, there are 300,000 lives being taken by global warming, and 300 million more people are being affected by it every year. He also states that if we don't curb emissions within the next 25 years, we can expect 300 million more people every year to be experiencing health consequences due to climate change. We can expect to see 20 million more people fall into poverty every year, and we can expect 75 million people to be displaced due to climate change. So now that we know how global warming is endangering millions of lives, I'm going to tell you how the Kyoto Treaty can help save those millions of lives across the world. Now, as you all know, the Kyoto Treaty is the only one of its kind, and it works to curb emissions by every country who signs it by 8 to 10%. However, the United States was an exception. They only had to take 6% off of all emissions here. And however, former Republican President Bush pulled us out because of a dispute between him and the European Union. But we need this. The data correlates that higher emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere causes global warming. And global warming causes millions of people to die. So if we eliminate emissions by at least 10%, we lower in turn deaths due to global warming by over 50% in a recent study. Also, the Kyoto Treaty may not also help save the millions of lives across the world. It'll help your Republican livelihoods. Because let's face it, you just lost an election that nobody thought you were going to lose. But many people think that this is because of you don't care about the issues that people like me actually care about. Believe it or not, people care about global warming, and we want to live on this planet still. So now we know how the Kyoto Treaty can help save those millions of lives. Let me explain to you that you Republicans are wrong, that it will not cost the economy so much as you think it will. In a recent study, Michael Northridge states that companies such as IBM or 3M and Kodak have reduced their emissions by 60%. However, they also raised collectively $4 billion. They've saved that much by reducing emissions by 60%. Their productivity increased 30%. And companies such as the French manufacturers for cement, Lafarge, they decreased emissions by 50% and increased productivity by 40%. They have saved over $2 billion over the last 10 years, and they have in turn be able to raise their employee cost or salaries and lower their costs in cement. But this is not just happening only with companies. Cities have also reduced emissions with their public works companies they use. They reduced emissions by 40%, and in turn productivity increased 35%. So now that we know that the Kyoto Treaty will not harm the economy the way most of you think it will, let me go to conclude this. So in this speech, I proved to you that the Kyoto Treaty should be ratified in the United States at the federal level. First, I proved that the Kyoto Treaty, or that global warming isn't endangering millions of lives. I proved to you that the Kyoto Treaty will help save those millions of lives. And lastly, I proved to you that the Kyoto Treaty will not harm the economy the way most of you think it will. So we can't live in a perfect world, but we can at least make it more close to being perfect by reducing emissions and curbing global warming.